holiday weekend with a fantastic meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant. They're perfect for any occasion and feature flavors from close to home and around the world. Visit the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and the 2 p.m. hour, and airing at 5 a.m. on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk show in the country. I am your host, John Parker, professionally queer since 2014. In the studio with me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Happy after Pride, everyone.
Is everybody exhausted? Patrick, are you exhausted in the control room?
Oh, I am absolutely exhausted, and I didn't even work half as hard as most of you guys at the station did.
Well, you were here, the captain, making sure that it all went to air. It would have been nothing without you, Patrick. So
I appreciate that, but I'm like, well, I got to sit in the studio with air conditioning, and it didn't exactly feel like it went that long, but I think that was because it was just boom, boom, boom. There was no downtime. There were no breaks. So that 7 hours I was here went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So for folks who don't know, 11 programs from AM 950 aired live
over 2 days,
from over 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, from Twin Cities Pride and Loring Park, and it was a Herculean effort. So I just want to start at the top and work our way down. The president of AM 950, Chad Larson, and his wife Angie, they did such an amazing job of organizing and getting things going. Greg Bakken, host of Ghost Box Radio, I mean, helping with, getting during the weekend and also all of the prep leading up to it. Brett Johnson, our, executive producer of the Matt McNeil Show and like operations, whiz here.
Can I just mention that Greg Bakken literally went from the engineering table, walked over to the, booth and did his show like in a matter of a few minutes. He literally went from one professional full hat to another full hat.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And Brett Johnson was there both days, on site, making sure everything was up and running along with Greg. And of course, all the, the folks that stopped by in the tent, to help us make it going. I also, our sponsors were so helpful. Can you pull up the list of sponsors from Pride this week? And I want to particularly thank Nicolette's Macaron. They gave us kept us caffeinated over the past 2 days, and we just had a really, really lovely time over the weekend.
I'll mention Maverick's roast beef. And there's others. Oh, well, we just heard from Amy Resnick from No Place Like Home Realtors. They were there as a sponsor. And the Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus was there also. There's somebody I'm missing, though.
No Place Like Home, Remax Realtors.
No, that's the Cause. There's a
Cause Cart.
Cause Cart.
Yes.
Which is a marketplace.
For folks who want to get the Native Roots Radio Resist t-shirt, that's in rainbow and it says resistance on there, you can go to cause-cart.com, and if you just in their search engine type resistance, it's the first thing that comes up there. It's a really cool looking t-shirt. And Adam, I know Adam's back there in the control room also helping out, making this all possible, in the live broadcast. So it was a really fun time. Thank you to everyone for coming out, and we're gonna talk more about it actually later in the show, but I wanted to get my thank yous out there as quickly as possible. If you are listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, we can take your calls, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I'm going to repeat that number because speaking of call-ins, let's give away a pair of free tickets to our listeners in Minnesota. So I have a pair of free tickets to Hidden Brain Perceptions Tour with Sean Carver-Dantum. It's going to be on July 11th at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be at the State Theater in Minneapolis. And if you're like me and you're very interested in neuroscience and like what the heck our brains are doing on any given moment, one of the major questions that Shankar asks is, are there parts of our mind that are hidden from us? And that launched his work, his books, and the Hidden Brain podcast 10 years ago. And to be a podcast on for 10 years, that is no that is no easy feat to do. And Hidden Brain, according to the descriptions here that I'm reading, Hidden Brain has helped millions of listeners accomplish their goals, improve their relationships, and develop a deeper understanding of their emotions. Shankar Vedantam has 7 key insights that he has developed over that first decade of Hidden Brain to bring to the stage. So whether you're new to the show or if you're a longtime listener, you've got storytelling, you've got science, you've got all sorts of fun things that you can take a look at. And you're sort of like, really? What is this all about? The brain? How can that be interesting? I've got a pair of free tickets.
You can find out.
Basically, you just have to deal with the parking downtown. So claim yours. First caller, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. You will be the first caller, gets a pair of free tickets. You'll talk to Patrick in the control room.
Can I mention 2 more sponsors now that I finally found my list? And I can't believe I didn't remember Minuteman Press, because Minuteman Press has done so much work for AM 950. So we want to thank them. And we also want to thank MELSA, which is a Metropolitan Library Service Agency that serves dozens of libraries throughout the metropolitan area in a number of different ways. They're really unsung heroes, I think, for our great library system here.
Yes, they are. We're going to talk more about all of that later in the show. Thank you to those sponsors. We'll give you some more love later on. What is on the show today? So I was actually on special assignment in Marquette, Michigan this month, and I have my reporting from Pride Fest up there. Over the weekend, the Hungary Pride protest drew a lot, and I mean a lot, of protests and attendees. And we actually won a Supreme Court case on Friday. We also lost another one, but I want to talk about the one that we won later in the show. We'll have more from Twin Cities Pride, and also a milestone Pride for a certain radio program in Chicago. We'll talk about that. But up first, if you haven't heard about this, there was a individual who lured firefighters in Idaho to a wildfire and then started firing on them, killing 2 firefighters.
And wounding a third one, I think.
This is, so the reporting is out of Boise, but it was in the town of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a man intentionally set a fire to ambush the crew on Sunday. And then when the crew showed up, was in a sniper position firing at the firefighters. They took cover behind fire trucks, but 2 did die. A third one was wounded during a barrage of gunfire over several hours. This is a shocking, horrifying story that, more gun violence in this country. Something that is really, we just dealt with an assassination, a political assassination and shooting and targeting here in Minnesota, and something that was very key. Like, we suspended our regular broadcast. We went into doing real full-on journalism over those first 2 days. And something that was very important to me was making sure that we had verifiable information as we were going along. And there is a lot of speculation, again, happening on social media. The right-wing MAGA machine is already out in full force saying that the alleged shooter, Wes Rowley, was trans. There is no evidence to back that up. There are a lot of photos going around online about his parents saying that they were full on MAGA, and there are photos of them outside of the White House and holding, semi-automatic rifles. Right. Again, let's wait until we get journalists to verify information. Right. I mean, even a day later, as we're going through and looking at information from, the AP and USA Today and local groups, local WPDE, ABC 15 News locally, we don't have information about this person to know what their, what Wes Rowley's political affiliations were. This person, there's no evidence to know if they were cisgender or trans or queer or heterosexual. So let's just tone it down on social media. Wait until we have facts, because the minute that we rush in here and start making all of these wild allegations, whether from the center, from the right, from the left, like, it makes it so much more difficult to then deal with the facts, once it happened.
Right.
We didn't know when here, we have a suspect that we find with, lists of people. We didn't know what that was until we knew who it was, the alleged suspect, Vance Belter. And then we learned that there were multiple lists. We didn't know that he had been targeting people for a long time, that the list was also folks in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan and beyond. Like, let the investigators, let the journalists get the information. They will give it to you, but push back on social media right now. I don't see enough folks where I'm just on Blue Sky, and I don't see enough folks. They're out there, but there are not enough that are saying, where are your sources on this? Where are you finding this? Are you getting this from investigators? Are you getting this from well-placed sources within the, fire departments or police departments? So it's really frustrating, as a former assignment editor, as a former adjunct faculty of journalism, and being here 2 weeks ago and dealing with this BS, where we have a mass tragedy going on that was so much worse than it was, but then you have to get through all of the BS, and now we're spending a lot of time just fact checking. You know what I mean?
Right.
And dealing with jerks like Mike Lee,
who make jokes
and
about
Van
it.
Orden in Wisconsin, and people that were calling it a false flag and all of that nonsense. So,
but they do that. I think they do that in an automatic way. Harkening back to the 30s, but in the 30s, everything was blamed on Jewish people because it was sort of it was their agenda to vilify them, and they became the cause of everything. And we've seen the right do that with Jewish people, right, in this country. Like you just said this morning, the Jewish space laser, they make this nonsense up because it fits their perverted view of the world. But let's wait and see, because we don't know, and they don't know, and it's a tragedy. Can we all agree on that? It's a senseless tragedy. Let's say that first.
Well, and they haven't, investigators haven't actually officially released the individual's name. So I apologize. It's either Kootenai or Kootenai, Idaho, the county sheriff. They've said that the suspect started the fire, and they do believe that it was an ambush and it was intentional. But law enforcement haven't officially. It was a leaked source that gave us the name of Wes Rowley. So anyway, fight back against these, I don't even know what it is, these lies. We need to substantiate it. Anyway, you're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820. More after the break. Your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries are committed to providing quality services, resources, and programs to the LGBTQ+ community. Check out the Metro Pride book list, including ebooks and e-audio for kids, teens, and adults at melsa.org/pride-booklist. That's melsa.org/pride-booklist. You'll find titles specific to different identities, including aromantic, asexual, bi+, gay, genderqueer, intersex, lesbian, queer families, transgender, and two-spirit. Stop by Melsa's tent at Twin Cities Pride to share your own reading recommendations. Check out those contributed by other festival attendees. Pick up buttons and bookmarks and find out more about your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries. Don't have a library card? Staff at the tent can help you with that. There will be librarians from the Metro Public Library systems who are happy to provide book recommendations and other info on how to get the most from your library card.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
Hey, it's Jennifer from AM 950. I'm 57, and lately I've definitely been feeling it. Lower back pain, hip aches, brain fog, and serious lack of energy. That's when I decided to try Hypercharge Wellness, and I'm so glad I did. At Hypercharge Wellness, they focus on proactive wellness and medication-free solutions to help you feel better and live healthier. Their FDA-approved light therapy helped reduce my chronic pain and inflammation, and the results have been nothing short of life-changing. My back pain and stiffness are improving, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. They also offer laser therapy that targets muscles and joints, perfect for injury recovery and pain management. Whether you're dealing with fatigue, chronic pain, or mental fog, Hypercharge Wellness has treatments designed just for you to boost energy, improve clarity, and reduce inflammation. Take control of your health and wellness today with their $49.99 introductory session and consultation at any of their 3 locations. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com for more information.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. I am here in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. If you've been listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, or if you are listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, we can take your calls at 952-946-6205. I believe I still have that pair of tickets available. First caller can get a free pair of tickets to Minnesota, Hidden Brain, Perceptions Tour with Shankar Vedantam here in Minnesota. It's at the State Theater in Minneapolis on July 11th, 6:30 p.m. This is something that I would like to go to, actually. So pair of free tickets. You can learn all about the brain and what the brain is hiding from us and walk away with some really cool insights from this very insightful podcast that's been on the air for 10 years now. So this month, June, I got to be on special assignment in Marquette, Michigan. So we're going to play my news package here from my fun time up north at Pride Fest in Marquette. Marquette, Michigan sits on the south side of Lake Superior, the largest and fiercest of the 5 Great Lakes, known for its majestic scenic vistas, hiking trails, kayaking, mining operations, and its many, many shipwrecks. Marquette is also a university town home to Northern University. It's also become a healthcare destination as the city and its healthcare organizations continue to invest in its medical infrastructure. I'm in Marquette for their annual Pride Fest, which takes place in the middle of June.
I am Susan Essler. I'm CEO of Travel Marquette.
I met with Susan at Bodega, which is an LGBTQ-owned cafe and restaurant. I asked her about the Marquette region as a destination for travelers.
We have waterfalls, we have hiking trails, we have biking trails, or if you just want to take a walk downtown, there are plenty of great places to eat. We have Negaunee and Ishpeming. Negaunee is going through a renaissance as well as Ishpeming. And then, of course, there's Big Bay, which is really a wonderful place as well. So we've got plenty of places. Gwen is really working hard to develop their tourism assets, working on their trail network. So we've got plenty of places to roam because we are the largest county within the state of Michigan.
The morning of Pride, the weather was brisk and there was cloud cover. As I approached Matson Lower Harbor Park on Lake Superior, Pride Fest certainly brightened the scene with its colorful flags, vendors, displays, main stage, and attendees.
Hi, my name is Lex Exworthy. I am the chair of the board of directors for Upper Peninsula Rainbow Pride.
The festival had just started, and Lex's joy was contagious as events got underway.
My favorite thing is the open stage drag show because it brings out people who want to try drag for the first time or people who might be a little bit new to the scene. And I love seeing their creativity. We also have almost 100 vendors, including the food vendors. So there's a lot of things to see, a lot of resources, a lot of things to purchase if you're interested in that, and a lot of tasty food.
Like with all Pride festivals, the vendors varied from artisans, a voter registration booth, to one hosted by J&H Forest Farm. They helped folks create their own hand and face lotions with different scents and colors. I decided on apple and a lovely celery green color. But given the times we're living in, resources for the community have taken on a new urgency.
I'm Emily Hagan. I'm a clinical social worker and I'm the director of Michigan Safe Space.
Marquette is a blue city and county in a peninsula of red politics, which means it serves as a location of support for queer folks across the Upper Peninsula, which is about 370 miles end to end. Michigan Safe Space has a teletherapy practice serving the entire state, but in Marquette, they have an in-person clinic.
All of our services are affirming of the LGBTQ community. We help people connect with coordination of care as well. So if they're looking to get into gender transition services, we can help with those referrals. And we're very supportive of the whole community. They can reach out at our website, www.michigansafespace.com, or they can email our intake coordinator, intake@michigansafespace.com.
And sometimes at Pride, you just need a hug.
My name is Angela Dufay, and I'm with Free Mom Hugs for the first time.
Your first time here?
Yes, it is.
Tell us what you're doing today.
I'm hugging people and asking permission before I hug, or giving a fist bump, or a handshake, or a wave. It doesn't matter, just so that and I cannot be more proud.
Reporting from Marquette's 2025 Pride Fest, this is John Parker. Well, there we go.
He's very good. We should hire him, whoever he is.
Right. I am looking forward to spending more time in Marquette for the show, but also I've been going to Marquette, Michigan like twice a year for the past 10 years, since 2015. And it's a really delightful place. I'm really looking forward to getting to know places at least in the upper Midwest, maybe beyond, where it is safe for queer folks to go to, where it is welcoming for queer folks to go to. And so Marquette has definitely been on my radar and my travel list over the past decade. Yeah. We're also going to be very adventurous on the Gailey Show. We'll be headed to Iceland, Reykjavik, their capital, the first week of April, to check out Iceland Pride, which is their largest festival of all the festivals in Iceland. Pride, which is a week-long event going from Tuesday through Sunday, is the largest of any type of festival on the island.
I think they get a lot of people from Europe, at least. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be a pretty good time. I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like it's going to be quite a party by Icelandic standards.
Yes. Well, Jim, you'll be there. I'll be there. We will be checking it out. We're actually going to have the chair of Reykjavik Pride on the show in July. We're also going to have staff from Pink Iceland. They coordinate a lot of weddings and queer weddings on the island, but they also help folks as they're traveling, queer folks as they're traveling to the island, and navigate being there. Like, where do you get a hotel? Where do where should I go? Like, all of those like travel arrangements. They actually do tours when you're there. They do like a walking tour of the city. They'll do a drive, like bus tour of the Golden Circle. So we're looking forward to getting to know them as well.
And they're good about answering questions. Just, it's nice to have somebody to ask. If you don't know anyone in a place, I trust what gay people have to say to me, and lesbians as well. So, people in the community. Yeah. It was very nice to just write and say, I know this is a weird question, and ask the question, and somebody writes back, and you think, okay, I trust that.
Well, and this is what you can expect from the Gailey Show. We're hitting the road, right? So obviously we have our prides here, and then we also have them in Marquette, Michigan, in Iceland. But I want to give a shout out to Out Chicago. So
Mhm.
they are in their 12th year and just celebrated their 600th episode yesterday when they broadcast live from the Chicago Pride Parade. So congratulations to you, Scott and Ellen, pioneers in
Wow.
queer radio, and continue to be so. And it's just really lovely to be sharing space on the same station with you. You are listening to The Gaily Show on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and AM 950 KTNF.
This is Santita Jackson. Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central, we'll bring you the best progressive talkers, thinkers, and doers on AM 950, Minnesota's progressive voice.
I'll never forget. I was driving my Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota, and I was hit at 35 miles an hour, rear-ended square flush. If not for the structural integrity of my Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. There's a lot I can say about Rudy Luther Toyota, about their fantastic service department and their great selection, but being able to say your car saved my life is the best endorsement I can make. Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota are my highest recommendation. Get one today and tell them me, Matt McNeil, told you to stop on in. Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hi, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Spring's the perfect time to get your space back and clear out those unwanted items. The best part? Just show us what goes. We are local and independent, just like AM 950. We provide residential and commercial services. Our landfill diversion program includes donating, recycling, and leveraging waste to energy whenever possible. You don't have to worry about a thing. We do all the work for you. Contact us for a free quote. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com to get started today.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Live music is taking over the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio. Head over on Tuesday, July 1st, it's Carl Davis. Wednesday, July 2nd, it's Bryce Heggie. And on Thursday, July 3rd, it's Ash St. John. Music runs from 5:30 to 8 p.m. and reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, outdoor live music is back at the Park Tavern.
All of us want to make a difference. As veterans, we committed to protect our country. We served and sacrificed for the things that mattered most. Those experiences shaped our lives, even if it isn't always obvious to those around us. And now that we've served, our commitments have taken on a new meaning. We're husbands, wives, parents, friends, and neighbors, but sometimes we still feel alone. We forget that our biggest challenge can be to ask for support when we need it. The Veterans Crisis Line is here for all veterans, service members, and their loved ones. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Chat online at veteranscrisisline.net or text 838-255. It matters.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight with a low of 63, then Tuesday sunshine with a high of 83. Celebrate the upcoming holiday weekend with a fantastic meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant. They're perfect for any occasion and feature flavors from close to home and around the world. Visit the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk show in America. I am your host, John Parker. In studio with me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Congratulations, Amy, for winning the tickets to Hidden Brain with Shankar Vedantam at the State Theater on July 11th. Let us know how it went. Tag me on Blue Sky. I hope that you enjoy it and have a great time. Before the break, I was offering my congratulations as well to Ellen Miller and Scott Duff at Out Chicago here on WCPT. Just congratulations. 600 episodes. 12th year. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to be at 600 episodes?
Well,
I guess we'll get there faster because we're doing 5 days a week.
right. But still, just the volume of, Scott and Ellen both have a lot of passion that
Mhm.
still translates after 600 episodes. There's something great about that.
Yes.
That they seem very enthusiastic about it, and I think it's genuine.
And we got to talk to them on Friday.
Yeah.
And it was just really, it was infectious how
Yeah.
excited they were.
You start
I was like,
smiling.
I want to go be sitting behind my microphone now and talk about the gays. So yeah, they do such an amazing job.
Right.
And to do a 2-hour show, a 1-hour show, there's a lot of prep that goes into a 1-hour show. A 2-hour show, there's a lot. And
Yeah.
they book a lot of guests and such really interesting leaders and thought leaders and organizers and artists and authors. It's just such a really great show. And if you get a chance, their tagline is spend your Sunday your Sunday brunch with your gay best friends or your queer best friends. And you can definitely see why when you tune in, why Scott and Ellen are your queer best friends on the radio every Sunday from 11 to 1. And folks who are in Chicago, use TuneIn. Go to heartlandsignal.com. Really, really fun time to listen to. We were at Twin Cities Pride this weekend, and it was, we were there last year, but this year to have 11 of our shows broadcasting, I had so many great conversations with folks who were coming up to the tent. Some of them were longtime listeners to AM 950 radio, so thank you for coming and saying hi. Some folks who knew the Gailey Show and were listeners of the Gailey Show, so great to talk to them. And so many people, not like tons of people, but a lot of folks that were like, we have progressive radio in Minnesota. And they're like, I thought AM radio only had conservatives. We're like, nope, we're holding space for all the progressives.
That's right.
And the liberals over here.
I think
so
some people were visitors, don't you think? Because a few people I talked to were like, well, we're not from here. And we said, well, that's all right, because you can listen via podcast. You can listen on TuneIn. You can listen to it on your own time. If that's more convenient for you.
You can subscribe everywhere you get your podcast.
Right.
I was joking with folks. I'm like, it's radio. So obviously we're on the air, 2 p.m. in Minneapolis and 5 a.m. in Chicago.
Right.
But when you can get your podcasts everywhere, in your car, you can listen anytime. You can listen at 6 p.m. on your drive home.
Yeah.
You can watch us on our YouTube channel. I don't know if you want to stare at this, that's an Armenian American face.
They want to
maybe I should go to the gym and bulk out. So that
you should. And why not? We
give a
both
nice
should.
visual for the folks watching at home.
Right.
But yeah, and anytime on websites, where I'm going with that is that radio used to be radio, and now there's a video component to it, and it's a digital component to it through podcasting, and so it's in itself becomes sort of multimedia. Even though we're in a control room in a radio station, doing our thing.
Right.
But so many great conversations we're having. We were also talking to folks, and thank you to the folks who took our LGBTQ media survey.
Yes.
It is still open. We are doing it to understand, where are you getting your news, and are they doing a good job of covering the LGBTQ community in your opinion? So this is not just for queer folks. This is for allies as well.
Right.
And we also want to know, where are you specifically looking for LGBTQ news? Like if you're like, hey, I want to hear about this particular issue going on, like trans athletes in sports or the firing of people in federal workforce. Like we want to know who those are because we do partnerships here on the Gailey Show. We have the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade come on bi-weekly. We have the managing editors for the Dallas Voice and the Windy City Times. And so we want to also be making sure that we are creating partnerships that lift up and celebrate these areas where you're getting your news. So if you want to take the survey, you can take it online still. We're going to keep it up in July at tinyurl.com/LGBTQ media survey. That survey link is tinyurl.com/LGBTQ media survey.
I think our community is chronically under-surveyed and chronically underreported. It's speculated about a lot.
Well, that's part of the reason, when they're cutting $1 billion of LGBTQ research of all types from the federal government.
Right.
And, we are a queer media program.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, we should understand from our vantage point and provide that community support, research support of, how are folks looking at the media? We can survey that. And the survey is constructed in a way where it's anonymous right? We'll report the results out later this summer. I have a policy degree. I mean, I have a public affairs graduate degree from the University of Minnesota. So this is my jam. I love data sets. I love tables. I love Microsoft Excel.
I'm going to ask
Google Sheets.
I'm going to ask an obvious question. May the folks in Chicago, I assume, also
Anywhere.
fill out this survey?
Anywhere.
So you want
Obviously, since we're based in Michigan, since we're based in Minnesota and Illinois, we really love folks from both of those states to take the survey. We really want to hear from you. We want to hear from AM 950 listeners. We want to hear from WCPT listeners.
Can you give that address one more time?
tinyurl.com/LGBTQ media survey.
That sounds pretty easy.
And it's for queer folks. It's for hetero folks, cis, trans. We want to hear from you of where you're getting your LGBTQ news, and do you think they're doing a good job?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of good job and people who understood the assignment and got an A+.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier this year, Hungary passed a law, their MAGA party passed not just a law, an amendment to their constitution outlawing any type of pride parade, pride festival to protect the children, quote unquote.
Yes.
And they even in the amendment gave power to all police forces to use facial recognition technology to identify people who are at these protests or pride marches or festivals to then, arrest them and charge them under this new constitutional amendment.
Right.
Well, other European folks were like, no. Organizers and LGBTQ organizations in Hungary were like, no.
Right.
So they planned a march for 2 days ago on Saturday. Leading up to it, you knew something was up because the European Union wasn't just, citing that, hey, we're going to fine you. We are going to sue you under the European Court of Justice. What you're doing is violating European Union rules. Like we saw those things start to come into play. But then we started seeing members of parliament from Europe saying, we're going to go to this march. We're going to be there. We're going to walk in this. Over 70 members of parliament from Europe. Then the week before, we started seeing foreign ministers from various European countries telling Hungary, stop it, knock it off, repeal this constitutional amendment. There was a letter that went out to them last Monday. Of course, the United States did not sign on to that letter that told Hungary, the displeasure of these other countries and why they need to repeal the law. Hungary the government was actually reaching out to politicians saying, do not come here. You are not welcome to come here and march in this. Well, upwards of 200,000 people marched in Budapest on Saturday. Now the numbers, at one point there were, it's between 100 and 200,000. Organizers are placing it closer to 200,000. Initial reports were, of photos were coming in. It's definitely over 100,000. But that 100 to 200,000 people. What we do know is that the length of the walk is normally on a regular day 20 minutes. It took people 3 hours to walk the area from where they began to where the march ended. And you can find there are amazing photos of the Elizabeth Bridge in Budapest where it's just packed. And there are flags everywhere, rainbow flags, all sorts of the flags of the rainbow and umbrellas. And it's just absolutely stunning to see how many people are on this bridge. So congratulations to the organizers in Hungary. Congratulations to the mayor of Budapest. I know that, he has been very vocal about wanting to make sure that this went ahead. He actually, the city government, city council, they made the march an official city event. So they said this wasn't like they were giving them legal cover because you can't arrest people from going to official government sanctioned events, right? So they were trying to go that way in terms of getting around the law as well.
Right.
So, for me, I want to see what happens next year. It's really great when, you have all these, upwards of 200,000 people that are going. You have all these MPs from the European Parliament. You have all these foreign ministers signing letters, and, you have folks that are trying to sue Hungary and get them to stop it that way, rescind or withhold European Union funds to the country. But I want to see what happens next year. is that same level of international support going to be there for the folks as they're, organizing next year's march?
Can we also mention in this country, 70% of U.S. citizens, U.S. adults, that responded to a survey support gay rights, generally speaking. So we were talking about this like things have changed and isn't it terrible? And now nobody likes us. That's not true. That's the image created by the Nazi Party of America and by the corporate media and the right-wing media to make it feel like, and the government, to make it feel like, oh, everything's changed for gay people. Well, it has in terms of coverage or messaging, but in truth, 7 out of 10 of us have still got our heads screwed on straight. So I always think about that when I think of people watching this and thinking, oh, what's happened? Well, what's happened is the propaganda now is being put front and center. The lies are now front and center, and you've got to be smarter than the propaganda. Just like the German people, where they knew, and many of them knew they were being BS'd, and we've got to be aware of that too. We're being BS'd up one side and down the other.
As the country continues to fall apart, we're going to look at the big ugly bill tomorrow and how it's affecting the LGBTQ community, but also just the country in general, because obviously there are going to be major updates happening throughout the week as they race towards this July 4th deadline. But when Medicare is cut in these rural communities, when SNAP benefits are going away, or however they're going to do that, the parliamentarian has allowed that to be in the bill, and sometimes it's not in the bill. So we're going to take a look at that. But part of me is very vindictive, and I want to, when these rural communities are losing things, to just be like, well, congratulations, you kept one trans girl from playing basketball.
Yeah.
You've lost all this, but hey,
Right.
you kept that one trans girl from playing basketball.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Was it worth it?
There's leadership for you. It's I don't know. You hope people are aware enough. Well, they have to be, because they're going to see people literally starving and suffering, and their people in their family are going to suffer. And are they going to be able to connect those dots? I think it's going to be hard for most of them to not see that they put themselves in this situation, and all the rest of us. They flushed the toilet and flushed the country down the toilet, and they're to blame for it.
There's going to be accountability.
There's
or
going
there
to
better
be accountability. I agree.
Before we go into this break, again, I want to show my gratitude to the folks who are supporting the community. And we had a really great list of sponsors who made this possible for AM 950 to be at Pride for both days and to broadcast live from both days. They kept us fed. They kept us caffeinated. They gave me delicious little treats to have on air. And so I really want to thank Cup of Java, Nicolette's Macarons, MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, Cause Cart, where you can find great Native Roots Radio t-shirts, No Place Like Home Realty. Yes. Minuteman Uptown Press, Cup of Java, Mavericks Real Roast Beef. Thank you to all of you for supporting not just us, but for supporting the community, because that's really what was celebrated here this weekend.
That's
and
right.
Just a lot of thank you again to Chad and Greg and Adam and Patrick and Brett for making this possible. It was very special. So we're going to take one last break here, but still lots to get to on The Gailey Show on WCPT 820 and AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Rest. June is here, which means you might be having a graduation party at your house soon. Summer also means sleepovers. Your kids are going to be at the playground, at the water park, at the beach. There's going to be a lot of mess coming into the house over the summer, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Rest to make sure your home is in order for the summer. And since June is here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Rest's best deal of the summer. Zero Rest can take care of any surface in your home or business, including carpet, tile, hardwood, rugs, upholstery, and air ducts. This month, take 20% off all services when you call my friends at Zero Res 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just tell them you want the AM 950 special. Their prompt, courteous team will come out and take care of you. Again, that's 20% off all services this month. Go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero res backward or forward spells the same.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
July is the annual store-wide sale at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Come see our diverse selection of wood, gas, or electric fireplace products for indoor and outdoor living. And right now, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces can assure you the best price of the season on every product in the store. Let Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces help you choose and experience the joy of sitting by a fire.
Summer is a great time to install your fireplace. You can find your perfect fireplace and have it installed and ready before the cold weather hits again. If you already have a wood fireplace, consider a fireplace insert. Come and see the entire selection at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces on East Franklin and Riverside in Minneapolis. They will create a fireplace that works for you. Efficient, clean burning, and environmentally smart.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, since 1977, out of the ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. So on Friday, we actually won a case at the Supreme Court. There were 3 big cases. We lost 2 of them, one of which was a disaster for healthcare for trans kids, which basically overturned science.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also lost Mahmoud versus Taylor, which basically allows faith groups to veto public school curriculum and say, no, you can't teach that.
And let's remember that's about 36 people in the country that are behind most of these book bans. It's a handful of ding-dongs.
But right now,
frankly.
the Supreme Court has said that parents can pull their kids out of classrooms if the curriculum, particularly LGBTQ plus curriculum, goes against their faith traditions. And by pulling kids out of classrooms, you are putting such pressure on the schools for how are you then going to deal with all of those logistics that it becomes easier to just say, we're not going to teach this curriculum because we don't want to deal with the parents. And it's a public school curriculum. And it's going to be, what's going to happen now is we're going to start to see curriculum like evolution, climate science. Already in Oklahoma. I know I keep repeating this, but in Oklahoma, they're already passing laws saying that it is required teaching now that Trump won the 2020 election.
Right.
So kids are actually being mandated to learn a lie in the entire state of Oklahoma.
Isn't that an admirable kind of teaching and education?
So
to pass along lies.
It's yeah. So there's that. But we did win one. And the case that we won was Kennedy versus Braidwood. And what this case was is that there is as part of the Affordable Care Act, part of Obamacare, there was a creation of the United States Preventative Services Task Force. Very wonky federal name for an organization that recommends preventative services that need to be included in private health insurance. This was part of the bill that became law of the Affordable Care Act. And they made the services that they reviewed, and they said, no, these need to be included in any private insurance that is offered by an employer. Those included depression screenings, breast cancer screenings, hepatitis B and C screenings, STI counseling, and PrEP. And for folks who don't know what PrEP is something that you can take that is not 100%, but drastically, like 90 some percent, over 90%, reduces the chance that you will contract HIV if your partner does have HIV. Now, you still need to do safe sex practices, use a condom, etc., to get full coverage. But it's a game changer to have PrEP.
Yep.
Right. And then there's PEP, which PEP, which is for folks who do have HIV. You can take that, and it drastically reduces your ability to transmit HIV to a partner that doesn't have it. So a bunch of Christian businesses were like, oh no, we can't possibly be required to provide this. You are facilitating homosexuality, and that is a sin, and so you're somehow forcing us to commit a sin. It's like, no, you are providing insurance to your employees. So what they did, their case is to say that the United States Preventative Service Task Force was unconstitutional. And they said the group that made this recommendation is unconstitutional, and if it's unconstitutional, then all of the recommendations are therefore unconstitutional, and you have to get rid of it, and then therefore there won't be a group that will do this to us again in the future. We'll get rid of all their current recommendations, and then we'll get rid of them from, making us have things like breast cancer screenings and depression screenings,
basic health,
and Hep B and C screenings, STI counseling, PrEP, etc.
Right.
Well, the Supreme Court overturned the Fifth Circuit and said, no, actually, this task force is constitutional, and it reports up a structure to the Health and Human Services Secretary, and it reports up to the president, and so we're all good here. And so they did not overturn it. I want to read Kelly Robinson, who is the Human Rights Campaign president, in a statement said that this decision means millions of Americans for now, not just queer folks, millions of Americans,
right?
Queer, straight, cis, trans can breathe easier knowing that critical preventative care remains within reach, that it's not a luxury reserved for the privileged few. They did say, though, that while they're pleased that the Supreme Court has blocked this attempt to create even more burdens on people seeking life-saving care, we must remain vigilant. They noted that Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has exhibited, quote, an open hostility towards the health needs of LGBTQ plus people and has already undermined critical protections against HIV. This includes eliminating research dollars for, this was RFK, this was Doge, this is the MAGA budget, eliminating research to find a cure for HIV. And we weren't there yet, but we were well on our way to doing that. And that work, along with so much other cancer research and Alzheimer's research and all other things, have just been put back a generation because all of these cuts. But for right now, we're going to end on that celebratory. Is it a celebratory? No. A sigh of relief? No.
Yeah.
That we actually won a case.
There's one
on
thing
the
that
Supreme Court that has literally turned themselves into pretzels to find a way to hurt the LGBTQ community.
Yep.
And they're already gearing up to do it again, next year. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, of a new case that they've agreed to take on, which goes after trans kids, specifically as it relates to conversion therapy. But for right now, they did not twist themselves into logic. They did the thing that folks, lawyers and attorneys and judges, and folks who follow constitutional law were like, yeah, this is the outcome that should be.
The decent thing.
Yeah.
For once.
Yeah. And they upheld it. So there we go. Good news, I guess, to end with for today. Thanks everyone for listening and or watching on YouTube. Up next on WCPT is Choose Views with Richard Chu. On AM 950 Radio, up next is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And in your evenings, Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
Wow.
Explore the paranormal with Greg Bakken.
All right, then.
And stream our show everywhere you get your podcasts or at youtube.com/@thegailyshow. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.